Night live from the Cloudy Sky Fantasy Football Show. Game week 26, just about to kick off, well, in about 45 minutes. Opportunity knocks. Single again with yet another breakup. Yep, next weekend there is no Premier League football. It is FA Cup weekend. So Premier League will resume on the following weekend, March the 8th. And for those that don't know, Opportunity Knocks was a 60s television show in the UK. And it was sort of a talent show when there was a bit of talent about, not like the current ones. Quite a few famous people in the 60s and 70s, and it came back again in the 80s. Like so Paul Daniels was on there. Spike Milligan was one of the first to be on. Yes, the 20 million people used to watch that when there was only, I think, probably 2 channels in the UK. So, yeah, teenagers, ask your granddad. So let's have a look. So this is the confirmed calendar, unlike last week where we had a look at the confirmed in italics, where not everything was fully done, and it still isn't. We are still waiting for the April fixtures to come out. Premier League rules say they should be out by the 28th of February, which is Friday. But I wonder whether there's a sneaky feeling that the FA Cup 5th round that's going to be played this weekend, the draw might have a knock-on effect to the fixtures, especially that early midweek in April, which, as we discussed last week, with the FA Cup now having a bespoke weekend and no Premier League football in it, all of the league matches are played in the following midweek, but with a few ties that could be played on Monday, I wonder whether they are waiting for that to come through. But anyway, after this week, where we have tonight, Aston Villa go to Crystal Palace, Bournemouth visit Brighton, Chelsea are hosting Southampton, and Fulham are hosting Wolves. Then tomorrow we have Arsenal going to Nottingham Forest, Brentford hosting Everton, Ipswich going to Manchester United, Liverpool hosting Newcastle, Manchester City going to Tottenham. And then on Thursday, this is where the opportunity knocks. Single game day, we have West Ham against Leicester. And we had a message, sort of a question off Dave, who simply said, does the plan stay the same as last week? Bowen in on Thursday, and then Isak in on the single game day, Monday, March the 10th. And yes, but I did have a bit of a scare when we were looking at that, because as we'll come on to the next slide, these are the formations that are allowed to be played. So I'll just read off the ruling. So selecting a team. On the Telegraph Fantasy Football website or app, select your team of 11 players by tapping the plus sign next to their names in the player list. Each player has been valued in millions of pounds, and the total value of your team must not exceed 50 million. There are no limits on the number of players you can select from any one club, and you can choose from any of the following 7 formations. So we had 4-4-2, 4-3-3, 3-5-2, 4-5-1, 3-4-3, 5-4-1, which is one that wasn't allowed in Sky, but because it's allowed in Telegraph, certainly for phase 1 this year, it's going to be allowed in Cloud, and 5-3-2. And the reason why that's significant we'll come to when we have a look at the team, because it changed slightly with Gakpo's injury. Evening, Windy. Good to see you. So a couple of others that were on Opportunity Knocks, Peters and Lee, and Lena Zavaroni. Yeah, so it was a fairly big show back in the day. Like I say, 20 million people were watching it, and it was obviously highly popular. Went on for several years, or seasons as it would be called these days. So let's take that off for a minute. We'll have a look at the current team of mine. Let's if I get this on there. Doesn't need to be bigger. Let's have a look. Yeah, there we go. Get it on full screen so we can see that. Okay, so Sells in goal, 0 points. You've got to remember that this is looking at game week 25, which started last Wednesday with the Villa v Liverpool game in Cloud, with Tuesday to Monday game weeks. So Sells in goal, 0 points. Robinson, 1 point. And we'll have a look at the team news shortly. Spoiler alert, he's on the bench today for Fulham. Van Dijk with 9, Saliba with 5, Munoz with 28 as captain, Trent with 16, Palmer 3, Foden 4, Kluivert 3, and then 2 up front captains, Salah with 46 and Mbeumo with 24. And as you can see there, my formation is actually 5-3-2. So I was going to move Mbeumo on to Bowen on Thursday, and then I had a thought that's going to be a 5-4-1. But when I put it into the planner, I didn't get the error saying that it was an invalid formation. Had to check on the formations allowed, and of course Telegraph allows a 5-4-1. There's Dave in the chat. We're just going through your question, Dave. And yeah, basically the same plan, but with a 5-4-1 formation, I can move Mbeumo on, and we'll see that shortly. So let's have a look at the leaderboard. So still at the top, Shane White with his Mexico United, 2,515 points, 129 for the week. Second, I think up some places, Mark McFadden, 2,499, joint second with JRZ. Mark Williamson is in 4th, Melvin Poole in 5th, Mark Horse 6th, Kay Dickinson 7th, Richard Fincham 8th, Neil Fleeson 9th, Mark Berry in 10th. And we have a look at the scores for the week. So the highest score is Windy's Wanderers. Well, 169. Well done, Windy. Neil Fleeson was second with 167. JRZ with 166, alongside Darren Malloy. Michael Blackburn, who's up in at 11th, he had the 5th best score with 165. And then Albert Welch, Andy Bayliss, Carl Hughes, Mark and Peter Clinch, they rounded out the top 10. So let's have a look at the match centres. Need to put this onto game week 25 and see where the points came from. So, as I say, the first game was last Wednesday. Aston Villa 2, Liverpool 2. Goal scorers were Tielemans and Watkins for Villa. Salah and Trent for Liverpool. Tier 3 bonuses for Tielemans with the tackles for Villa. And for Liverpool, just McAllister with the tackles. Leicester 0, Brentford 4 on Friday night. Goal scorers for Brentford were Wisser and Bemo, Norgard and Carvalho, and there was no tier 3s at all. Everton 2, Manchester United 2. Goal scorers were Beto and Decore for Everton, Bruno and Ugarte for United. Several tier 3s here. 11 tackles for Gay for a tier 3 and 3 shots for Beto. For Manchester United, Onana with their tier 3 saves, tackles for Mazraoui, Casemiro and Fernandes. Bournemouth 0, Wolves 1. Game that was slightly spoilt by an early red card. Goal scorers was Cunha for Wolves, who's becoming a popular asset in this game. Tier 3s, Kepa with the saves for Bournemouth and Menetzi with the tackles for Wolves. Arsenal 0, West Ham 1. Goal scorers Bowen. Tier 3s for Saliba, and Gabriel and Partey with the passes for Arsenal, and Scarles or Scarles, he's a new one on me, with the tackles for West Ham. Fulham 0, Crystal Palace 2. Goal scorers were Munoz and an Anderson own goal. Tier 3s for Bassey and Anderson with the passes for Fulham, and Hughes for the tackles for Palace. Ipswich 1, Spurs 4. Hutchinson with a goal for Ipswich. Johnson with a brace, Spence and Kulusevski for Spurs. Tier 3s were Philagain for Ipswich with the tackles, and Danzo Gray with the passes for Tottenham. Southampton 0, Brighton 4. Goal scorers for Brighton were Pedro, Rutter, Mitoma and Hinchelwood. Tier 3s, Ramsdale with the saves for Brighton, and Mintet with the shots for... Ramsdale with the saves for Southampton, and Minte with the shots for Brighton. Aston Villa 2, Chelsea 1. Goal scorers Asensio with the brace and Fernandes for Chelsea. Tier 3s, Martinez with the saves, Conser with the passes and Tielemans with the tackles for Villa, and nobody for Chelsea. Then the Sunday games, Newcastle 4, Nottingham Forest 3. Goal scorers for Newcastle, Miley, Murphy and a brace for Isak. And for Forest, Hudson-Odoi, Milenkovic and Yates. Tier 3s were Hall with the tackles for Newcastle, and Dominguez with the tackles for Forest. And then Manchester City 0, Liverpool 2 in the Super Sunday game. Goal scorers for Liverpool were Mo Salah and Szoboszlai. Tier 3s, passes for Manchester City, Kusanov, Lewis and Gonzalez. And for Liverpool, just Becker with the saves. Windy says this week is the only time I will appear on any leaderboard this season. Well, you never know, Windy. If you have another good week this week, you could still be there on close of play Thursday. I'm just going to see if we've got some team news for the fixtures. There are several 7:30, so they should all be in. Let's have a look. So Brighton v Bournemouth, Verbruggen in goal, Lamptey, Van Heck, Webster and Estupinan across the back, Baliba and Gomez in midfield, Mintet, Rutter and Mitoma supporting Pedro up front. For Bournemouth, Kepa in goal, Cook, Hill, Hewson and Kirkes across the back, Adams and Christie in midfield, Brooks, Cliver and Semenyo supporting Outara. Palace against Villa. So Palace are Henderson in goal, Richards, Lacroix, Gehi at the back, Munoz, Hughes, Wharton and Mitchell. So Munoz and Mitchell be getting forward here. Sarr and Eze supporting Mateta up front. For Villa, Martinez in goal, Garcia, Conser, Disassi and Dean across the back, McGinn and Tielemans in midfield, Bogard at right wing, that's out of position now, Rogers, who's fit, plays behind Watkins, and Ramsey on the left. So still Asensio and Rashford on the bench again. Okay. Wolves v Fulham. So Wolves are Sarr in goal, Doherty, Bueno and Gomez. That's Tutti Gomez at the back. Semedo, João Gomez, Aït-Nouri and Andre across the middle. I'm sure Aït-Nouri will be playing wing back. This is off FOTMob. Bellegarde and Cunha and Munetsi up front. And for Fulham, Leno in goal, Anderson, Diop and Quensah at the back, Castagna, Spurge, Sessegnon and Lukic in the middle. Traore and Pereira supporting Muniz. a bit of a change side there for Fulham. And Chelsea v Southampton is a 8:15 kickoff, so that won't be quite through yet. So let's have a look at the player points overall. So we'll just do these by overall position. So Mo Salah still well at the top, 275. Haaland next best at 198. Palmer 188. And then rounding out the top 20, Isak, Wood and Mbeumo over 170. Van Dijk at 162. In the 150s we have Cunha, Trent, Watkins, Munoz and Bruno Fernandes. And in the 140s, Kluivert, Saliba, Gvardiol and Sells. And in the 130s, Gabriel, Pickford, Mateta and Nicholas Jackson. We'll have a quick look at bonus points. So Van Dijk at the top, 54, Kovacic 53, Bruno Fernandes and Partey in the 50s at 51. Then loads in the 70s, loads in the 40s, reading down. We've got Salah, Saliba, Haaland, Munoz, Flecken, Caicedo, Gvardiol, Tielemans, Van Heck, Colwell, Martinez, Bassi and Mazraoui. And then in the high 30s, Gueye, McAllister and Diaz. And I thought we'd have a look at the ownership today. I'm going to do these. We'll do it overall and we'll have a look by position. So Palmer at the top, 73, Salah 72. Then Isak, 40, all but 48. Gabriel 40. Then in the 30s, we've got Haaland, Henderson, Mbeumo, Kluivert and Van Dijk. In the 20s, Saliba, Bruno Fernandes, Munoz, Van Heck and Trent with Gordon and Robinson. And then in the high teens, Gvardiol, Smith Rowe. Didn't read his name out in the team today, did I? He's dropping away. Iana and Eze. Just have a quick look on there by position. So Henderson, who's been top of the shops for ownership all season long, and he's been performing to that standard as well. I think anybody that had him at the start and kept him, they've done okay. Raya and Sells at second and third. For defenders, Gabriel's at the top. Then, a bigger split. Well, I suppose there's more defenders to play, so you're going to have more choice. Van Dijk, Saliba, Munoz, Van Heck and Trent, the ones that are over 20. Look at the midfielders. So Palmer well out on top. Kluivert, Bruno, Gordon, Smith Rowe, then Eze, Masaka still hanging around. I think those 14% of people are no longer playing. Then there's a few between 5 and 15% there. Then on the strikers, always interesting to look. So Salah at the top, no surprise. Isak in half the teams. Haaland in over a third and Mbeumo in a third. Then the rest drop away quite a lot. You've got Chris Wood there, Watkins, Solanke still hanging around in a few, over 10%, and then Cunha. So anybody that's got him at 6%, he does well. You're going to get a decent rise out of him there, I think. Let's take that away. Get rid of that one. And we should be able to see the team here. So this is who I have today. Sells, Van Dijk, Saliba, Robinson, Alexander-Arnold and Munoz at the back. Kluivert, Palmer, Foden up front. And Salah. Sorry, there. Kluivert, Palmer, Foden in midfield. And then Salah and Mbeumo up front. And as previously advertised, the plan is to move Mbeumo on to Bowen. I've got just enough in the bank. That'll take me to 49.8 for Thursday's game. And then on a week on Monday, the plan is to move Trent on to Isak. Trent might be playing well, but as we saw on the fixtures, and we've got it here as well, we can see here after Liverpool's game against Southampton, they don't play at all until at least the first midweek of April. They've got the return Merseyside derby. So if Isak comes in here, he's going to have a single game day at West Ham, probably have the Brentford fixture, and he's definitely got that Crystal Palace fixture in the bank as well. Only Trent might come back in the side. It could be Van Dijk that goes instead, but I imagine it will be Trent. I did have a look at moving Saliba instead, but it didn't quite work the same way. So yeah, that's the plan. So how do we think today's games are going to go? A good question from David. Any thoughts on taking Robinson out? Benched, as you say, and not amazing fixtures. Yes, you could do if you've got transfers in hand. I think I'm probably in a position where I could wait. The player that I would probably look towards would be maybe Kirkes of Bournemouth. Hill, I think you'd probably need to check to see how often he has played, but he's certainly cheap in the Bournemouth side. And Hall for Newcastle, but again they play Liverpool tomorrow, so it's not ideal timing. I very much expect that Robinson, it's a fairly changed team all around. He's just been one of those that said, well, you're having today off, you'll be back in the side. Fulham in the FA Cup, yeah, they play Manchester United, I think, on Sunday. So I think it's probably just a rest. He's been quite a mainstay, and you're right, they haven't got amazing fixtures, but he's all been about the attacking returns and the tackles, really. Fulham haven't been pulling up trees with clean sheets, that's for sure. There we go. Right, so we've got some team news in for Chelsea against Southampton. Quick look. So it looks like Jorgensen in goal, Gusto, Adarabioyo, Colwill and Cucurella, Caicedo and Fernandes in midfield for Chelsea, Neto, Palmer, Sancho and Nkunku. So they could play in any variety of positions up front there. And for Southampton, Ramsdale in goal, Bree, Bella-Kotchap and Aribo at the back, Sugawara, Downs, Smallbone and Walker-Peters, and they have Fernandes, Sulemena and Onuachu up front. I think Chelsea might be getting a few today. Yeah, Palmer. I mean, everybody's got, well, 7 out of 10 of us got him, so could be on for some decent points there, I think. So, as for the games themselves, what do we think? Well, I think today, Brighton v Bournemouth, they're both fairly attacking sides. As I say, Bournemouth were a bit stung last week with their early yellow card. I think there might be some goals in this, and I think it might be close. I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. Palace against Villa. Could be similar. I quite like that. I think this might be a good game. Villa, they've not been great in midweeks, but they played well last Wednesday against Liverpool. I think they were fortunate to beat Chelsea on the weekend. I mean, it's a bad mistake by Jorgensen. Palace are playing well. Yeah, let's double it up. We'll have another 2-2 draw there. Wolves against Fulham. Wolves, they're starting to pull away from that relegation zone. I'm starting to feel for Ipswich, Southampton and Leicester. I think for the second successive season, the 3 promoted clubs are going to get relegated. Wolves might have enough to beat Fulham, you know. Yeah, maybe Cunha on target again. Let's go for a 2-1 home win. Chelsea against Southampton. Well, as previously stated, having read the team out, I think that might be quite high scoring. Let's go for 3-0 to Chelsea. And then tomorrow's games, 4 7:30 kickoffs. First one at Brentford, Brentford v Everton. Brentford obviously too good for Leicester on the week. Everton, they look like they're getting the better of Manchester United, only for Bruno to score a free kick and then they come back and get a draw. Brentford home advantage. Yeah, I think maybe a 2-1 win for Brentford. Tottenham v Man City, very difficult to predict. You're not quite sure what you're going to get from either side. Tell you what, let's go for a third 2-2 draw. So hopefully some entertaining games to watch. Manchester United against Ipswich. I think this is going to be one of those where Manchester United just get the job done. I think they'll have probably they haven't been great, but on paper they're a better side than Ipswich. You would think that the extra games that they're used to playing in midweek and Ipswich aren't is to their benefit. A sneaky 1-0 win, probably Bruno again. Forest against Arsenal. Yeah, Wills came off at Arsenal. They had a man sent off as well, which didn't help. Their striker issues aren't being aided. Forest are decent at the back. Tell you what, the opposite of a 2-2. Let's go for a 0-0. And then Liverpool against Newcastle. Not quite sure, really. I think Liverpool will win. I think Eddie Howe might do something tactically different here, so he's not giving his game away ahead of the EFL Cup final. Not quite sure what. Could be an extra defender. Could be a different wide attacker. Is Harvey Barnes fit now? Maybe he'll play. Liverpool will win. I think their attack's good now. I'm going to go for a 3-1 win for Liverpool and the inevitable Salah goal. 42 goal involvements for the year so far. Unbelievable. And then Thursday, single game day, West Ham against Leicester. I think West Ham will have far too much for Leicester, to be honest. I don't think Leicester haven't scored in a long while. Or is that just their home? Might be their home games. But West Ham should be buoyed by their win against Arsenal. I think they're going to win quite handily. I'm going to go for 3-0 to West Ham. Hopefully Bowen can score a goal or two on his debut for my team. So another Dave in the chat. Evening, Dave. No issues being late. You can always watch back. And just to recap, really, it's no real change to my plans compared to what they were last week. Bowen is going to come in for Mbeumo on Thursday, leaving me the opportunity to move one of the Liverpool defenders onto Isak for the single game day a week on Monday. Right, well, that's it for this week's preview. Next week we'll probably be back on Friday again, I think, with game week 27, which will be the 8th, 9th and 10th of March. And then we've got the international, after that we've got the 15th of March, which is the 8-game weekend because there's 2 matches not going to be played. Aston Villa v Liverpool was last week, and of course Newcastle v Crystal Palace is going to be in April. Let's put this back on again. So yeah, thanks very much for watching, everybody. If you like the video, please leave it a like. If you want to subscribe to the channel, again, please do. If you want to use the transfer planners, you'll find those on Patreon at Cloudy Sky Fantasy Football Show. Enjoy the games. I'm going to watch, I think, Palace against Villa tonight. Unless they've got Sam Matterface on commentary, then I'm going to find something else. And then should be good games tomorrow. Tottenham v City and Liverpool v Newcastle. And then, obviously, the single game day on Thursday. All right. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. Enjoy the football, and we'll see you next week. Take care. Bye for now.